Okay, Tom, full time here in Croke Park, and it finished Dublin 122, Wexford 23 points. What did you make of that?
Well, I suppose it's a desolate place now at the moment, Cathal. The seagulls are flying around, and it's been a pretty bad night for Wexford, really, when it all boils down, because we were always looking at this game as a winner takes all, and ultimately that may not be the case. This time last year we were in the same position, Wexford, but you know, it looks a little bit more bleak than last year. I wasn't overly impressed. I mean, we look at the statistics from the game, I suppose, and you look at Wexford 19 wides versus Dublin 6 wides. I think we dropped 6 balls into Sean Brennan's hand, and that's probably unforgivable in top-class inter-county hurling. And I was just looking at one thing, and look, we'll talk about Dublin in a second there, but you know, we're looking at a team that at times there was 30-40 yards between our nearest forward to the Dublin goalkeeper, and I mean, that was a real comfort zone that he was left in. But it's disappointing from a Wexford point of view. I suppose we had some good performances. Lee Chin didn't look fully right, but he did okay. Rory O'Connor was okay. I thought our two defenders, Shane Rex, Simon Donoghue and Liam Ryan till he went off, I thought they played very, very well. But at the end of the day, it's not a good night for Wexford hurling, and we really do have to go back to the drawing board at this stage.
Do you think the championship is over for Wexford, or do you think they can turn this around?
We're not in Cathal. I hope my voice is not too...
Well, I know it's a somber
I'll either put you asleep or make you cry here now for a second. But
I know you want to get going. I'd say you want to get out of Croke Park.
I suppose I'm just so disappointed, really.
I know.
I can't say it's the end of the championship, but it's not. It's not really looking good. We would always fancy ourselves to beat Kilkenny. You know, we always think that we'll give them particularly down at Wexford Park. But at the moment, our hurling doesn't suggest that we're going to really make any assault on the championship this year. Let's be fair. You know, we had a very poor league. We beat Antrim by 4 points last week. Galway turned us over pretty comfortably. Dublin did tonight. I do believe Dublin were good enough tonight. You know, they were the best team on the field because they looked better. Their puckouts were better. They were crisper in their hurling. That might defy the fact that we missed a lot of scores, but it just shows that Dublin were more economical. And you know something, Donald Burke, he's on my fantasy hurling team, would you believe? I absolutely think he's just a super player. He'd have a couple of all-stars in any other county. But he came down, and it's right down here in front of us, he came down to the sideline close to 70 yards out. The most crucial free he's taken for the last number of years. Incidentally, I was talking to a Wexford man, and he was a big Joe Canning fan, and I'm not putting Donald in the same category just yet as Joe Canning, but he said he's taken frees not with his highest stakes. The stakes couldn't have been higher tonight, Cathal. What a performance from a brilliant hurler. Ball over the bar from the sideline. Then he goes out. I was sitting beside Wexford people. I don't know what it was, 100 yards. They said, surely this man can't put the ball over from 100 yards. He was the deserved man of the match. We have to take our hats off to him, and a wonderful performance from a wonderful hurler. And, you know, from that point of view, it was nice to be here to see him play. But I just thought from the Dublin point of view as well, Cathal, you know, I thought Sean Brennan was very good in goal.
That save that he made near the end, because that would have turned the game. Like that was a serious turning point in the game. If he hadn't saved that, that could have swung it in your favour, and it could have been a different story altogether. You know, it could have been a getting out of jail. We could be talking about.
That's right. I totally agree. And you know what that would have done, Cathal? If that had went in, it would have given Wexford momentum. And I don't believe we had a number of wides after that, uncharacteristic wides. But we were really coming at that stage, and it was Wexford's to win at that stage. But what I liked about the save as well, he turned the hurl and he put the ball out to the sideline. You know what? He didn't leave it in the square. I thought his performance overall was outstanding tonight. Really outstanding, and his puckouts were outstanding. I love to see what the turnover rate in his puckouts, but they were almost down to 5 or 10% tonight. So, you know, Sean Brennan was excellent. Another guy that I thought was just outstanding tonight was, and I know he's no relation of Donald Burke. I'm Burke-sound me all night tonight, but I just thought that Conor Burke played the sweeper's role in the first half excellently. Super player, and you know, I just thought he was excellent. The other thing, and sometimes fortune, you can be very fortunate. You know, I saw when Ronan Hayes went off, I was, you know, because I know Ronan's history, he's been very, very unlucky with injury over the last couple of years. I believe it's a hamstring. Hopefully, best of wishes to Ronan. Serious player, because he was a player I was worried about coming on. But Paul Crummy came on. He gave one outstanding performance.
Yeah,
He was. It was a bit of luck maybe that Micheál Donoghue needed, but he came on for probably one of their best forwards, and his aerial ability was just outstanding. And you have to hand it to Dublin tonight. Owen O'Donnell, big fan of his as well. Rory, great battle with him. Rory did very, very well on him tonight. But again, Dublin defence were a much different proposition than what Wexford came up with and from last week. So they deserved a win, even though the points total might kind of contradict, or the wides total, I should say, might contradict that. But Dublin deserved a victory tonight.
Yeah, it's nearly a win-win for Micheál Donoghue in a way that they conceded a lot of shots tonight. They came out with the win, but he knows there's loads now that they can work on, even with the win behind him. How do you think, where do you think Wexford go from here? Is it back up just shooting practice? Like, there's, that can't be the only thing they have to work on, but it was an obvious factor tonight, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, 19 wides, it's a very, very standout issue. Now, in saying that, our free taking was quite good tonight, between Rory and Lee Chin. Certainly we have to look at that. It's going to be a big pickup. We're probably lucky that we have a couple of weeks maybe to get back kind of such. I would have felt that we had a strongish team tonight. I will have to be critical of one decision that we made, and that was if we are good enough to play without Conor MacDonald in the full forward line, so be it, but I don't think we are. I think Conor came on, he got 2 points. I think in the league this year he's been our top goal scorer. We can be critical of different aspects of players' performances, of what they're doing. Maybe Conor doesn't do this, maybe he doesn't do that. But for me, we can't afford to be without Conor MacDonald. And it takes that. And even when he came on, I don't think we played him close enough to goal. But certainly I don't think we can leave Conor MacDonald out of our lineup going forward. That's not answering your question.
No, but it's because it was strange when he did come on. I initially thought that he would go straight in nearly on top of Sean Brennan, and that maybe start trying a different route one nearly. That didn't seem to be the case. It definitely doesn't seem to be that they're utilising the powers of the likes of MacDonald. That's right.
And the other thing as well, we were treated. I've seen 2 goals there, just to give examples in the last couple of weeks, Cathal. The goal that Galway got last weekend. We tried to explain it by tactic. And I don't think it's really tactic. I mean, Jack Grealish got the ball, lorried it up the field as high as you could. It broke off a hurl, and in comes Brian Concannon and buries it in the net. The long ball again tonight for Dublin, straight in, and Cian O'Sullivan gets the tip to put the ball into the net. I think sometimes we can overcomplicate this game. Get your men up front, get them in close to goal. I know Owen O'Donnell is a super full back, but you know something, I think a forwards, particularly an inside forward, the most dangerous place he can be is close to goal. And if I'm to be critical of the way Wexford are playing, I think we don't play close enough to goal, particularly in our full forward line.
Yeah, definitely when the game was in the melting pot, there still just seemed to be too much space in front of Sean Brennan that the ball then was landing in front of him. It was just a killer. And that kind of sucks the life out of a team, doesn't it? If you're shooting from out in the middle of the field and it just drops into the keepers, especially when the game was in the melting pot and it was very intense in the last 10 minutes, that just sucks the life out of a team, doesn't it?
I think it does. And to use I suppose an analogy from a different sport, like the high line or whatever when they're playing offside, I think that teams don't play enough of a high line, really. Really, Sean Brennan was coming out. All the puck-outs in the first half, they were either going to Owen O'Donnell, they were going to Paddy Smith. These are good ball players. These guys, give these boys, a ball on the 21. They carry it maybe 35, 40 yards out. Then they're picking a man, and they were actually attacking Wexford up the centre. There was nothing flamboyant or kind of Einsteinish about it. Like, they were going up the centre, and the ball was being pummeled up the centre. And their midfield, they took us for a point each. They were really, really very, very I think they had a better plan than we had tonight. They were very, very basic in what they were doing. It wasn't, as I say, rocket science. And I just thought that Dublin were sharper and they had a bit more wherewithal. And then in the last 10-15 minutes, I can't explain it, but we really did, in our shooting, we did fall to pieces a little.
Can I ask you on just a separate point, the game being on in Croke Park, there would have been some atmosphere now if it was on in Parnell, particularly for those last 15-10 minutes. As a Wexford fan, do you still prefer that it was on in Croke Park? There was an attendance of just over 9,000 here tonight. What are your thoughts on all that?
I think when you've attendance of 9,000 or 10,000, you're better in the smaller ground, and that's the truth of it. I would admire Dublin for coming to Croke Park. I think there was a method to their madness. They feel that they have legs, they have good men to run at you, they have some very, very good ball players. So I think Dublin were right to come to. I'm not so sure that everyone says Parnell Park suits Dublin, but I know that Wexford probably would have preferred to play here tonight. Certainly the atmosphere certainly doesn't lend itself to, like we're looking, the game seemed very flat. And let's be fair, I don't think the quality of the game tonight was incredible. It was really a must-win game, and the 2 points were the most important thing for Dublin. Wasn't incredible quality, but certainly if you don't have the crowd kind of in on the pitch, the kind of, the 30,000 the other evening in Clare and Limerick, that creates a better atmosphere, and it creates more intensity as well. And I think that's, Croke Park, 82,000 stadium, 9,000 people in it. One doesn't fit into the other really, but I think Dublin were right to come here. If Dublin get to a quarter final, if they go a bit further, that's going to be the kind of an environment they're going to hope to play with. But this evening, I kind of I would have preferred to play in Parnell Park, but if you'd probably asked me during the week, I'd have preferred to play in Croke Park.
It's a strange one though, isn't it?
It is. It really is. The stadium is too big for a 9,000 crowd. That's the truth of the matter.
And if you hear the birds during the game, you might be in a small bit of trouble.
You're in a bit of trouble then. There's no doubt about that. Yeah.
The game today and the game as we speak, Tipperary and Cork are playing. Yeah. And both of those games are on GAA Go. Now, I know during the week you shared your thoughts on GAA Go, and you'd mentioned Limerick and Clare, and obviously that was definitely the best game we've experienced so far this year. Yeah. That was also on GAA Go. What do you think about that? Or where do we go with GAA Go? There seems to be a lot of talk about it at the moment. The games need to be shown somewhere, don't they?
I think, Cathal, look, I'm not the contrary GAA man. I spend a little bit of time in Anfield every so often. To my detriment this year, I suppose. I go to the Munster-Leinster rugby game. So I'm not, it's not the contrary GAA man. But I put this scenario to you. We're trying to promote hurling, so it's not as easy as you think. And hurling is a small populated sport. If you look at nationally, well, not nationally so much, but certainly internationally, it's a small populated sport. My issue with GAA Go is that last year, probably one of the best sporting occasions we saw on television was the Munster final. It had controversy. It had, probably Tony Kelly standing over a sideline ball, the most dramatic sporting moment of the year. You had two counties that absolutely, and I never used the word hate in GAA, but absolutely don't like each other or dislike each other. You had every element, and then you had 50,000 people thrown into Thurles. So we put that on television last year. We had a repeat of that this year with 30,000 people, with the stakes even higher. And we have a product, hurling, which I think is one of the greatest sporting products in the world. We need to promote that. We didn't show that to the paying, or to the public, to the GAA public. And I just think that is absolutely crazy. It's horrendous marketing. And people will say, well, they can go in on the GAA Go and whatever. But to go in, like, I was talking to an old age pensioner, and I'm not patronising because I'm heading in that direction myself pretty quickly.
You've a way to go.
I have about 3 or 4 years to go. But he rang me and he just said, Tom, it's not a money thing. It's not the €12. These are the people that are paying for the club lotto, the county development draw. They've been paying going into. It's not the money thing. But for them to actually see that game last Saturday evening, they would have had to either have a smart television, either have a computer, and then kind of, have the techie ability to go in to kind of get that on. And I don't think it's right. I'm really angry at depriving those people of the big games. Yeah. I'm not saying, Cathal, that we should have every hurling game on TV, but there's no doubt if we want to market our product, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever to have something like that game not on free to air last week. We should have been kind of announcing it from the rooftops. It should have been free to air in the hospitals, in the pubs, in the places without broadband, which there are still places without broadband. It should have been all over, and we should be trying to market the product. I should have been going in to train young guys, as they are doing all over the country, train young guys on Monday night, and they're talking about Tony Kelly, they're talking about Aidan McCarthy, they're talking about Cian Lynch. They're the heroes. Why are we depriving? We're still the GAA, we're still an amateur sport. Yeah. Why are we depriving the people of that? And I just think we're not marketing the product, and I'm not happy with it. We thought that we'd never get rid of Sky for the pay-per-view. Now we replace it with a GAA. And the other thing is they seem to be cherry-picking the bigger games for the pay-per-view up to maybe the All-Ireland quarter, semi and final. So I just don't think we should be depriving people of this, and I'm very, very disappointed in it. Think it should change. You think about this, we have a very short window, and I hope I'm not rabbiting on, Cathal.
No.
We have a very short window. We've probably 8-10 weeks now of GAA action, right? We have a very short window to promote our game, to get our game popular, and this weekend there's no game on free-to-air TV on our national radio, on our national television station. Crazy stuff, you know. And I think next week, I'm not sure if there's a game on. It's just, I don't see any sense. And the last thing I'll just say about it, Wexford, right? We're under more pressure than an awful lot of people think, trying to get people to compete against soccer, etc. We will have one game free to air this year to promote our game against Kilkenny if we don't qualify for the All-Ireland series. That's not helping us, Cathal. No. And I just put it, I love soccer, I love rugby, I love all the different sports. We're still able to show when the Rugby World Cup, when the Soccer World Cup is on, we're able to, and we're not even competing in it, we're able to show three games a day in that, and we're able to do it for 3 weeks. And I'm not saying every game should be on it, but for God's sake, Clare versus Limerick, we should be shouting and promoting from the rooftops. I think it needs to be debated, Cathal.
Yeah, some very.
And I hope
points.
That's not too long of an answer for you, Cathal. But as you can see, I feel a bit passionate about it.
No. Look, some very valid points. And look, we're not going to solve it here tonight, and we're not going to solve the state of Wexford hurling or any county for that matter. Yeah. But Tom, thank you very much. I know it's hard when you're a fan, and a night like that, you just want to nearly run out the gates and just go home and maybe forget about the match, and but
do you know, Cathal, I'll just say we're right beside Dublin, and I'm in Dublin 4 days a week. I've always been a fan of Dublin hurling as well, and no more than ourselves. We need Dublin hurling going very, very well at the moment. They're doing a lot of work, they're getting a lot of people in there. I've always admired them. I want Wexford hurling to do well, I want it promoted more, I want it more free to air. We have a lot of work to do ourselves, and look, maybe we're going in the right or the wrong direction, but we are trying. And the one thing about Wexford people, we're great at reinventing ourselves, we've great resilience, and to be quite honest with you, our love of hurling is not based on success. As you probably know, 6 All-Irelands in 100 and how many years. We love hurling, and we'll be doing our very, very best to keep it going. And I know Darragh Egan and the lads will as well. And thanks to our lads. We were beaten tonight, but thanks to our lads for all they're putting into this game.
Here. Well, on that note, Tom, thank you very much, and best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thanks, Cathal.